All right, guys, scenario time. I want to put you in the boots of a police officer during a shooting. So it's about near the end of your shift. You're sitting in a parking lot just counting down the minutes so you get to go home. End of shift. Scrolling through the gram, watching YouTube, doing whatever it is that you do when the emergency tone goes off and dispatch says that there's been a shooting in a nearby parking lot. That's it. That's all the information you got. So you start racing that direction. You're about 1 minute out. They update you saying the suspect is wearing a blue shirt and shorts armed with a handgun. Now you're about 30 seconds out trying to process that information. Blue shirt, shorts, and handgun. Blue shirt, shorts, and a handgun. A second caller comes in when you're 15 seconds out. But this time, the caller says that the shooter is wearing a black shirt and pants, contradicting the first call that you got. You're 15 seconds away trying to process that information. Right as you arrive, a third caller comes in and updates you saying that the shooter is wearing a blue shirt and shorts, and he's standing over somebody who's bleeding out on the ground with his handgun pointed right at him. Right as that information comes through, you arrive, you see that to your left, you step out of your car, get to cover, and start giving verbal commands to the guy in the blue shirt who starts turning towards you. What would you do in that situation? Guys, that scenario is not designed to be like a trick scenario where trip you up, but I want to give you a realistic look at just how fast things unravel as a police officer when you're responding to something like a shooting. In that scenario, the guy in the blue shirt, blue shorts, two callers said he was the suspect, but he was actually the responsibly armed concealed carry holder who downed the suspect, the guy that was wearing the black shirt. Second caller said the guy was wearing a black shirt. And a similar situation happened like that in Arvada County when police responded to a suspicious person call.
952 copies. We have an active shooter in Old Town, Arvada.
Copy. I'm going to get some 3 ambulances started.
That's affirmative. Medics, they're asking for you to get your tactical gear on.
Units responding. We do have a request for an ambulance to Grandview and Grant. I don't know if that scene is secure at this location.
Medic 51, Battalion 52. I need you on the just north of 57th and Old Wad. We have officer down.
Basically what happened was the officer arrives, he gets out of his car and begins to walk when a complete coward pulls up in a truck behind him, parks, gets out of the vehicle, and sneaks up on the officer from behind and basically just executes him right there in the street. After that, the suspect then returns to his vehicle to retrieve a rifle and then begins to walk back towards the downed officer who's just laying there, bleeding out on the ground by himself. Luckily, there was a responsibly armed Good Samaritan named John Hurley who recognized what was going on, engaged that suspect, delivering a fatal shot with a handgun. But after he did that, he approached that downed suspect and grabbed his rifle, presumably in an attempt to make the scene safe for when police arrived, trying to do the right thing. But ultimately, when police did arrive, there was a case of mistaken identity, and they engaged John Hurley and delivered a fatal shot.
We have 2 more patients down in Hilton. 2 ambulances to 57 and Wadsworth.
Confirmed, sir. You have an ambulance to Grant and Watts. That's an officer.
3 patients, 1 deceased. We have CPR in progress and 2 parties.
I'm not going to Monday morning quarterback that. I wasn't there. I don't know exactly what information the officers had. I don't know what information John Hurley had. So I'm not going to talk about it. But there are things you can do to avoid that type of situation. And I want to give you an inside look at just how fast things unravel for a police officer. The average police response time for a shooting, 3 minutes. That's 3 minutes from the time the emergency tone goes off to the time they're standing there right in the middle of the scene. And right when the call comes out, they have no information. None whatsoever. They know they're going to a shooting. They're responding there about 100 miles an hour, trying to avoid getting into a collision, constantly checking their mobile data terminal for updates that they're not getting, but they want. If they are lucky, right before they arrive, they get a suspect description, race, gender, size, clothing description, last known direction of travel. Hopefully they have that. Most of the time they don't. So they're going in blind, trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together while their adrenaline is spiking through the roof. That is not an easy task. So what can you do as a Good Samaritan help those officers that are coming to the scene get a better understanding of how everything actually unfolded? Well, first you need to understand when you are talking to dispatch, typically the call taker is not the one giving the information to the officer. The call taker is taking that information you're giving them, typing it into the computer, and then sending it off to the dispatcher. That dispatcher then reads it, processes it, and relays it over the radio to the officer. So there's usually at least a minute from the time you give the information to the time the officer receives it. In 1 minute's time, most of that information is probably expired by then. So one thing you need to understand is it's equally as important to give your description and location and the fact that you're armed as it is to give the suspect description and location. Because rest assured, in any shooting, every time, there's multiple callers. There's always going to be multiple callers, and half of them are going to be pointing at you. the Good Samaritan as the suspect and the shooter. So you want those officers that are coming in to have that information, know exactly what your description is, and that you are the one that actually put the suspect down. So hopefully if they have that information in time, if they get it, they're able to put those pieces together and make the best decision possible. So if you have down the suspect, let dispatch know that, because that is immediately going to ease the adrenaline of the responding officers. They're going to be able to slow things down, process information, and there's going to be less likelihood that you're going to be confused as the shooter. Now, the next thing is, are you going to leave that firearm on the ground next to the suspect, or are you going to try and grab it and disarm him? This is ultimately what led to the tragic death of John Hurley. I would argue, if you know he's down, just leave it there. Leave the firearm there. I know it's natural to try and go and pick it up and disarm him and make it safe for police officers. Just leave it there. Go take a position of cover, hold off on him, let dispatch know that the suspect's down, where you're at. And then as you hear sirens coming, if you know the scene is safe, you know he's down, reholster your weapon, and it's going to eliminate almost all of the possibility of being mistaken as the actual shooter. Guys, final tip, when officers arrive, they're going to be coming in hot, their adrenaline's going to be pumping, and they don't know who is who. Like I said, they're getting conflicting information. Are you the shooter, or is the guy on the ground the shooter? They're going to be treating everybody as a suspect. You need to accept the fact that you're going to be getting yelled at. You're probably going to be put on the ground, probably going to be put in handcuffs. And when officers arrive, their priorities are three things. First, make the scene safe. Second, get medics in to provide medical attention to those who need it. And then finally, investigate what really happened. So when you have an available opportunity, calmly tell the officers what exactly happened, but give them a little bit of leeway. Their adrenaline's through the roof. They don't know what is going on. Just 5 minutes ago, they were playing on their phone watching Iron Infidel on YouTube. Just kidding. But guys, thank you for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. Hopefully you did learn a couple things. These are actually very, very important tips, and they could save your life. Who knows, one day. Do not forget to hit the subscribe button and the like button. I'll see you guys in the next one.